Hey everybody, welcome back to Conscientious Omnivore. My name is Pal. Today I'm going to go out for a run, and I just want to show you guys my shoes really quick. These are some new shoes that I got for running and in prep for my race in the spring. So usually I wear a very minimalist kind of barefoot style shoe, or the Vibram 5 Fingers when I go out for runs, but it's pretty cold now, and I do want to get some really good training in this winter still before the race. So I've been looking for shoes, and it's really difficult to find ones that fit and are minimalist with the zero drop. So I ended up getting these because they were really cheap, and they have somewhat of a of a heel, but they're not like extremely crazy, and I'm hoping that they are going to be okay. They feel good, so I'm going to go for a run and let you guys know what I think of these, and then I'm going to show you guys why I wanted to talk about this. Okay, so I'm back from the run, and it went well. I had a lot of fun. Did a little over 10K, and the shoes were pretty good. I'm going to reserve judgment until I've got a few more runs accomplished in them, because I'm not quite sure, but one of my on one of my feet, like my Achilles was feeling a little weird, and it may have been a little too tight because I was feeling a little pressure on one of the joints on my toe. But anyway, this isn't a shoe review, and the reason why I wanted to talk to you guys about the shoe is because I want to talk about something that you really kind of used to get me before I was a vegan, when people would talk to me about giving up animal products, like in the form of clothes. So a long time ago, I've already talked about this in previous videos, but I had several friends and kind of like acquaintances and coworkers and stuff like that that were vegan, or at least vegetarian. Excuse me, and many of them would actually, have conversations with me about the ethical side of veganism and things like that. And I always pushed it away. And like one of the things that I remember always using as kind of like a little excuse for myself is that I didn't want to wear, fake leather kind of stuff, like shoes or belts or whatever, or even jackets and things. I always said like, oh, what are you gonna do? Instead of getting leather shoes, you're going to wear like fake plastic. That's bad for the environment too, etc., etc. And sorry, I'm feeling a little bit scratchy from the run, but in one of my recent live streams, I actually talked about this too, where there was a lady in Canada who used to be on the Olympic team, and she was basically making the case that the uniforms should have real fur for the Olympic team in Canada, because it's part of the tradition and all this kind of stuff. And that she also said, I think the quote was like, "We're not plastic people," kind of implying that, like, look, if you're wearing stuff that's not made from animals, it's all man-made, and it's bad for the environment, etc., and it's fake. So I used to kind of be of that mindset a long time ago. And then, after becoming a vegan, I kind of did more research in that side of things too, because I really kind of adopted a vegan diet before I was really a vegan. So when I started looking into kind of like how leather and fur is made, I found out how incredibly cruel it is. But not only that, it's also incredibly environmentally destructive. So the production of leather is actually not at all as kind of nice as it's been kind of romanticized to be, in the sense that it is not this nice environmentally friendly solution that is like like the traditional old way of like how skins were cured back in the days. And the truth of the matter is that most leather that you buy today has all been treated with really crazy, harsh and dangerous chemicals. And those chemicals are used to actually stop the breakdown of the leather. So it's basically, let's not forget that it's a rotting skin from an animal. Once you've killed the animal and removed it, it is basically starting to decompose. And in order to stop that decomposition, they use chemicals that basically stop that process or hinder it or whatever. And also there's chemicals that make it more malleable and everything like this. And this is all done so that it's faster and safer, quote unquote, than the old traditional ways of doing things with, drying in the sun or using salt or whatever other kind of methods people used in the day. And the fact is that it's incredibly exploitive toward people as well. So if you watch the documentaries about how leather is produced, you'll see that many of the leather production happens in third world countries where the labor laws are extremely poor. The people performing the work tend to be very poorly paid. It's very dangerous work. They're often not given any kind of protective gear. They're literally swimming around in this kind of chemical toxic stew that the skins are being treated with, and it's incredibly toxic. And a lot of the stuff actually seeps into the environment, so it goes into water. It pollutes the areas around the facilities as well. So it's incredibly dangerous, not only for the people that are working there, but for the people living in the communities and the environment around them as well. And once you know that, then you kind of start having a different picture, because it becomes more of an even balance of like, okay, what is the environmental impact of having, plastic be generated for like a shoe like the one I showed you guys, or anything else like a jacket or what have you, and what is the environmental impact of having all the poison that is used to basically stop the decomposition of the leather. And I've kind of come to the conclusion that all things being equal, and taking out even the cruelty component of it, I still think it's probably less damaging to the environment to have kind of a modern production technique with plastic than it is to be using these really exploitive third world countries where there's basically no control for environmental pollution and all this kind of stuff. And so I think even from a non-ethical standpoint, but just more like from an environmental standpoint, I do believe that leather is actually far more damaging, and that we shouldn't use it just because of that alone. But then if you also look into kind of the ethical side of things, then it's a no-brainer. So yeah, I mean, that's kind of what I wanted to really focus on. And I think if you are vegan, one thing that I just kind of quickly want to mention is that you want to be careful when you look at shoes, especially, and things like that, where it's not obvious a lot of times. Most like sports shoes, like running shoes and things like that, they're all man-made materials, from the sole all the way to the the upper. But I actually, a while back, this was probably maybe about 2 or 3 years ago. Yeah, I'd already been vegan, but I was actually looking for a non-animal-based shoe, and I ended up buying a running shoe that I ended up using for quite some time before I realized that it actually had a tiny bit of leather on it. And I did not know that when I bought it. I would not have bought it if I knew that it was on there. It never even crossed my mind to check, to be honest, because it was like, I'm buying a running shoe, it looks all like the typical kind of like fake, plasticky kind of components, and I just didn't even think at the time to like look at the little label inside. So if you ever look at like shoes, they always have the little, it's like a little pictorial guide of what the components of the shoe are made of. And maybe I'll just chop them in the screen here so you can see them. There's usually like a little hide symbol that is designating that it's leather, like genuine leather, as they often say. And then there is a little triangle for man-made materials, so that's all your fake leathers and your kind of like polyesters and all that kind of stuff. And then there is the little hatch symbol or whatever, that is the kind of like cloth symbol. And one of the things that I try to do when I buy shoes for most of the year when the weather's good, I just wear like the simplest kind of canvas type shoe that I can. So it's like kind of like the Converse type or whatever. I don't usually buy Converse because they're kind of expensive, but I just buy some rubber sole canvas top kind of simple tennis shoe or whatever you call it. And that's pretty much what I wear like 2/3, 3/4 of the year. But then when it gets cold, obviously I need to wear something a little bit warmer. So it's always a bit of a challenge to find a good fitting warm enough like boot or whatever for winter. But I always do make sure that I look at the the materials to make sure that I'm not buying leather. I do not want to support that industry. And one more thing that I just want to say about this is that a lot of people don't realize that the leather industry is somewhat related to the meat industry, but not always. There are several cases of animals that are reared specifically for leather, like especially in India. A lot of the animals that are slaughtered for leather, those are not used for meat. So it's pretty interesting, and I think that is actually a good part of the world's leather supply. It comes from India, so it's just another sad thing to kind of see. But yeah, so I just wanted to do a quick video on this and talk about it a little bit, because I just got these shoes recently. It kind of sparked this memory in my mind of the way I used to kind of think about it before. And if anybody's watching this that's not a vegan, I hope that kind of clarifies maybe some of the the situation for you, in case you're wondering why vegans don't wear leather shoes or other animal product derived clothing. And I think maybe just the last thing I'll finish with is that I do still have some things from before I was a vegan that I bought that do contain leather or wool or things like that. Like I have some ties that are made from silk, and I will and already am and have gotten rid of a lot of these things, and actually pretty much most of the things. But there are still some things that I have, and slowly but surely I'm kind of giving them away or selling them, and or I don't even think I've sold anything. I've really just been giving them away, and basically just like wearing them out and throwing them out once they're of no use to anybody anymore. And that's my plan, is basically just like not to buy any more of these, and slowly but surely, as my finances allows for it, to basically buy replacements for the things that I still do need to use. So I think like the only things that I haven't really made plans for replacing are like rock climbing shoes. I have that are made from leather. They do have synthetic ones, and when these wear out, that's what I will be buying. But yeah, just kind of wanted to say that, and hopefully that clarifies things for some people who maybe didn't know kind of why the vegan stance is the way it is about clothing. So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this, and if you did, give it a big thumbs up. I hope to see you guys in the next video, and maybe I'll just close out here with some little tiny footage that I took at the run today, like out in the woods. There were some nice views, and Fruji and I always like going out there, and it's just a great day whenever we get a chance to go out into the woods. So hope you guys enjoy it. See you in the next one. Bye.